Welcome back. It is session 4 of the Year 5 writing for this week, where we are looking at writing a report all about the Olympics. Now, I'm going to start by sharing some work with you that we have been sent through. So the first piece here is from Jack R in 5SU, so thank you, Jack. Now, I absolutely love Jack's opening, and I'm going to read it to you. Ancient Greeks had a nasty shock when the Roman Emperor Theodosius put a ban to the Olympic Games in 393 AD. As a reader, I want to know what that nasty shock is. So you have done a fab job there of hooking me in, because now I'm going to read the rest of your work because I want to know, what was that nasty shock? Now, you've kept your writing factual, so you haven't done it as a story, which is exactly what we're aiming for. And you've done some extra research down here because you have talked about the Olympics being cancelled, which wasn't on my mind map. So great job there. I hope you're enjoying researching all about the Olympics because it is very interesting. So thank you, Jack. Now, the next one is Harry L from 5BR. So again, like yesterday's examples, Harry has had to go at writing his first paragraph, but then he's tried editing it and improving it and trying to make it even better, which, remember, is a really good skill to do. If you do it on the computer, like I do for you on the videos, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker, but it is a really good skill to be able to do. Okay, so did you know the Olympics was invented almost 3,000 years ago? So again, you start with a rhetorical question, you're hooking that reader in. Lots of factual information. I love that you've got down here lots of the facts that we had in the mind map, and here you've put that it's a pagan festival. So you've done lots of extra research as well, and you've in fact told us why Emperor Theodosius cancelled it. So that is absolutely fab. Now this here, I love your subheading there, let the games begin. I think it's perfect because it's telling you that you're about to talk about the start of the Olympics, but really it's also the start of your information, isn't it? And I think that's a very fitting title. So well done, Harry. Keep up the great work. And then the last piece of work I want to show you isn't the paragraphs, but it's from the first session where we did our planning. And this is Harry M from 5JF. I love this very colourful mind map. So well done, Harry. You've got things like torch and winter and medals and mascot and the Paralympics and the ceremonies and winning, all those things that you think of when you think of the Olympics. And you know that already, I'm sure, by watching the videos, I'm a fan of colourful mind maps. I also really like Harry's plan for his writing because I can see clearly how many paragraphs he's going to do. I can see what each of his paragraphs are going to be about, and I love that down here he's already decided which famous athletes he's going to have a look at. So you've got Chris Hoy, Muhammad Ali and Usain Bolt. So I look forward to reading your sentences and your paragraphs when you've done them, Harry. So well done. Now remember, you can send your work to share with us. You can send it to your class email addresses, or if you'd like to send it to me on the 5TL one, that is also absolutely fine. If you want it to go onto the videos, try and send it before the evening of the day that the video goes out, and I can do it for the next video. Or you can just send it through and we'll do a big celebration next week of all the work that you've been doing. You can also tweet it on Twitter as well. Now, we're going to move on to session 4 today. And session 4, I decided for my paragraph was going to be all about ceremonies and traditions. Now, in my plan, I put about the Olympic torch, the opening and closing ceremonies, and the Olympic rings. That's a lot to put into one session. So what I've done is I'm not going to focus on the Olympic rings at the moment because I can do that as a separate paragraph or a did you know box. But I am going to look at the Olympic torch and then the opening and the closing ceremonies. And just like with the last session, I've done a big mind map if you would like to use my notes, or you can go and research your own, like some of the boys did at the start of this session, and find out some more facts about those things. Now, I realised that green's very faint. I got some new felt tips, so I was very excited about using all the colours, but I will make sure on the next one I use a darker green for you, but hopefully you can see that clearly enough. Now, there's my first 2 paragraphs from the first 2 sessions. I've decided to split this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to model the first bit, and then I'm going to show you the next bit that I've already written so that this doesn't take very long, the video. Now, the first thing I thought about was the Olympic torch. So with the heading, thinking about Harry's example, I wanted to make it a bit more interesting. I didn't just want to put the Olympic torch or the Olympic flame. So I tried to think about what it was I'm going to talk about. Well, the Olympic torch is all based around traditions, and that word alight I thought was good because it's fire. See, trying to be clever with my words there, guys. So keeping traditions alight. Now, if we have a look at my notes at the top, so the Olympic torch or the Olympic flame is based on the ancient Greeks' sacred fire that they would light in the Temple of Zeus, and they used fire for lots of other celebrations as well. So when it was introduced in 1928 in Amsterdam by Jan Wills, that's what he was trying to channel. So he was trying to link the flame back to the origins of the ancient Greek games. Now, I want to talk about that first of all. So, well, it's a symbol, isn't it, the Olympic torch, the Olympic flame. So I'm going to start with the Olympic flame is a symbol that is, now I could have that is well known, that is recognised, that is maybe treasured across the world. I'm going to have well known across the world. So I think that's going to be a bit too short. So what about, but did you know, that I love a did you know? Did you know that its origins lie in the traditions of the ancient Greeks? There you go. So the Olympic flame is a symbol that is well known across the world, but did you know that its origins lie in the traditions of the ancient Greeks? Now, I think I've mentioned that before. Let me go back to my other paragraphs. Yeah, here, look, I've put traditions of our ancient ancestors, and that's very similar. It's not exactly the same. So what about, let's change this word here. So traditions, you could have, what about the rituals? Because it was a ritual, I suppose, wasn't it? We said in Harry's writing that it was a pagan festival, so it would have been steeped in rituals. So let's have that. The Olympic flame is a symbol that is well known across the world, but did you know that its origins lie in the rituals of the ancient Greeks? Yes, I'm really happy with that. Now I need to say that it was brought back in 1928. I'm going to start it with simply that. In 1928. Now I didn't put this on here. I forgot to add this on, but I did find this out this morning. 1928 was the 9th Olympiad. Okay, so let's put that at the 9th Olympiad. Now, do you know what that is in Roman numerals? There you go. Roman numerals. Olympiad in, where was it? Amsterdam. So in 1928, at the 9th Olympiad in Amsterdam. Now, what was his name? Jan Wills. So he designed the first ever Olympic torch, which carries the Olympic flame. So let's just put that down then. So just oh no, I better put his name. Jan Wills designed the first ever torch based on the. Now, if we go back to my notes again, we've got here is based on the sacred fire. And that sacred fire, from my research, was kept burning throughout their games. So just like we have the Olympic torch and the flame that stays burning throughout the games, that's what it was based on. So let's have based on the, I like that word anyway, sacred fire that was kept burning through the original games. Brilliant. Now, I want to talk about now and what happens. So let's have a little look. So it's lit in the ruins of the Temple of Hera in Olympia. And it's normally, again, you see, look, I haven't got everything written down on my notes, but it's normally lit a few months before the Olympic Games, because then what it does is after the ceremony where it's lit, it's then passed from person to person and goes on its little journey around the world until it gets to the host city. So let's write about that. Let's put, I'm going to start with another time adverbial, and you'll find, because we are talking a lot about the history of the Olympic Games, a lot of your sentences might start with some sort of time adverbial, and that is absolutely fine. So, several months before the Summer Olympics start, comma, what should we put? A lighting ceremony takes place in the ruins of the Temple of Hera in Olympia. Stop. So nice simple sentence there. And then that's followed by the race, isn't it? So that, I'm just going to put that down then. So this is then followed by, by a relay race. That's about the seize the torch. So we could have the seize the torch, travel the world, or go around the world, or pass hands around the world, something like that. So this is followed by a relay race that seize the torch, travel around the world until it reaches the host city. Now, once it gets to the host city, something has to happen to that flame. And for those of you that have seen the opening ceremonies, the flame then gets taken, and then it lights a big ceremonial cauldron, and that cauldron, the fire in that is kept lit until the very last ceremony, so the closing ceremony of the games. So let's put something like, once it reaches its final destination, because that's where it's then going to stay, isn't it, for the remainder of the games, the flame is used to light the ceremonial cauldron, and the fire is kept alight until it is, now I wouldn't say turned out, would we, because that's not what happens to a fire, put out, or until, what about extinguished? Extinguished is a good word, isn't it? It is extinguished at the closing ceremony of the games. Right, let's read that through. So, the Olympic flame is a symbol that is well known across the world, but did you know that its origins lie in the rituals of the ancient Greeks? In 1928, at the 9th Olympiad in Amsterdam, Jan Wills designed the first ever torch based on the sacred fire that was kept burning through the original games. Several months before the Summer Olympics start, the lighting ceremony takes place in the ruins of the Temple of Hera in Olympia. This is then followed by a relay race that sees the torch travel around the world until it reaches the host city. Once it reaches its final destination, the flame is used to light the ceremonial cauldron, and the fire is kept alight until it is extinguished at the closing ceremony of the games. Brilliant. And actually, do you know what? I quite like the fact that I've used a light there to talk about the fire, and a light in my heading as well there, my subheading. So that's my part about the Olympic torch. So I said I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you then the bits that I wrote earlier for the next bit, because I thought if I write all of this with you, you're going to be here forever. So I chose to write about the opening and closing ceremony, and I've kind of broken those down again into two smaller paragraphs. It is up to you how you write this. You can write as little or as much as you like. I like writing, so I don't mind writing a bit more. But yeah, it's up to you. So, celebrating the start and the end of the Games. Each Olympic Games starts its proceedings by hosting a grand ceremony which honours each nation taking part. This is normally a big spectacle which celebrates several areas of the host country through singing and dancing. As part of the ceremony, there is a parade of nations which sees each country's flag enter the stadium, followed by the team that will be representing them. This is usually in alphabetical order, apart from Greece, who always comes first as the originating country, and the host nation, who comes last. To celebrate the end of the Games, a closing ceremony is held, which starts with the final medals being awarded. Just like in the opening ceremony, a parade of flags is held, but this time the athletes follow in no particular order. They are encouraged to unite and celebrate all their achievements together as one, and will often all gather in the centre of the stadium together. At the end of the ceremony, the Olympic flag is lowered and handed to the mayor of the next host city. So there you go. So that's my next bit. I haven't done about the Olympic rings yet. I will probably just write that later and then show you in the next video. But hopefully you can see in my first part there with the Olympic flame, my how I would write it and how I take my notes from my mind map and start putting them into sentences. So just like with the other sessions, off you go now. Enjoy. Have a go at writing your own. You might want to pause that on the screen so you can read through mine a little bit more. You might want to pause my mind map on the screen if you want to use that, or you might have your own notes as well. But whatever you do, enjoy your writing and enjoy researching about the Olympics.